The sun is coming up again, and I feel I'm waiting for my life to begin. And I've read so many books on this. They say if you want to change your life, you gotta make a list. So I make my way back to seat 10A, and I fasten my buckle as the plane pulls away. And I get out my paper and pen, and I write out that same old list again. 'Cause everything seems clearer in the clouds at 30,000 feet above the ground. Yes, everything seems clearer in the clouds.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Kathy Scharmer. Obviously, Reverend Abigail is not here today. She was actually invited to go talk at the Oakland Center, where she will also be doing a promotion for her Next Generation retreat coming up. And I get the honor of being here today with all of you. So our topic today is Thy Will. So let's start with something that I think might be familiar with most of you, but may not be something that happens very often in Center for Spiritual Living locations like this. I'll start with the first line. You give me the second line. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We'll stop there because it starts to get different variations there. But this is what we're talking about today, is thy will. And what does that mean? So Vance just did, as always, an absolute phenomenal lead-in to the discussion about thy will. When we talk about that, we know we're talking about the divine energy, that overall essence of life. God, Spirit, Frank, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's this overall universal energy that governs our lives. That's thy will. But let's back into it. How does thy will fit with my will? Because I'm here. I'm taking control of my life, I like to think. Sometimes it's more clear than other times. But when I'm working with my will, I'm typically working with things from my past that have conditioned me to make decisions and act in a certain way today. That's my will. That's my ego. That's the human part of being in this plane of existence right now. Thy will is God's will, God's nature. Use God's Spirit, divine energy. That nature is good. It's for happiness. It's for light. It's for life. It's for love. When we take my will into thy will, it becomes the one will, the one mind, the one spirit, the one universal anything. And that is when we are being our authentic selves. Because that will exists inside. And it's that authentic part of us that is resonating with the divine energy, that is being driven and motivated by the one element that connects each and every one of us with each and every one of us. So when I'm being my authentic self, this is when thy will be done. So this lesson actually was written by Reverend Elizabeth Rowley, who is one of the staff ministers here at our center. We have a structure within the 400 or so CSLs that exist internationally that we all get together at the beginning of the year to come up with 52 themes And then 52 ministers are identified to write one each week, and all of our organizations have the ability to use this structure, which is an outline and identifies the various elements that go into it, and each minister, of course, adds their own stories and their own styles. So I was very, very fortunate to have Reverend Elizabeth from our own center write this one, and what she wrote was that one will is my truest and most authentic will, and is the will of the heart, which is God's will and God's nature. Now, Ernest Holmes, as the founder of our organization, wrote also about thy will in Science of Mind on page 268. True prayer must be thy will be done. But the implication relative to the will of God in the prayer is not a submission to the inevitability of evil or limitation. It's a knowledge that the will of God is always good. So when we stop and look at what's this mean, thy will be done, the deepest and most authentic will, which rests in the heart of me, is the very nature of God in me, and God's will be done. Just a whole different way to look at the Lord's Prayer, isn't it? And the CSL teachings look at a lot of this God's will by setting intentions, being mindful, being an intention in what we're doing and how we're doing it, and what we're all about. So we're using a book of the month. This month's book is The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success from Deepak Chopra. And if you look inside your bulletin, you'll see a little blue piece of paper. And on this, look to week 3. We are working our way through this book. We are working on the law of intention and desire, as well as the law of detachment. Because surprisingly, the two go together. So law of intention, I think, as most of us know, is when we want something, we make an affirmation and said, I want a nice warm day. I want a new car. I want a healthy bank account. I want a romantic love. Those are those material elements. They're not really who we are. So when we set intentions, the better intention is to go beyond the symbol of happiness and come to the core, the authentic self, that thy will be done of our divine nature. Because when we're living from that divine nature, we have everything. We have everything. And what many people do is that they make an intention, they state their intention, and Deepak Chopra does a great description of the difference between attention and intention. So there's an old story some of you might have heard. I know Vance has got almost all the same stories in his little pocket that I have in mine. This one is about a little old lady who was on her way to the market with her goods. She dyed fabrics and made these beautiful, beautiful colored fabrics. So she's put all of her fabrics up inside this great big bundle, popped the bundle on her back, and is starting to walk to market. Now her intention, of course, is to sell her products, sell her fabrics. But it's also really heavy, and she's a little old lady. So she starts to stoop a little bit and let the weight get a little more distributed, but she's just focusing her attention on the weight of her burden, on this bag on her back filled with fabric. So with all of her attention on the negative burden that she's carrying, it gets worse. It starts to rain. Now it's all this heavy, sodden fabrics. And she's stooping down even lower and lower because her burden is heavier. And of course, what does she do? She thinks even more about how bad this is and how terrible it is. Well, the weather gets even colder, and now it's snowing. So now it's the heavier snow that is on this. And she's sitting there saying, just at this point she turns to the divine, but in the beseeching, oh, please, dear Lord, take away this burden. I don't want to carry this heavy, heavy load on my back anymore. So it breaks open, and all her fabric gets scattered on the muddy path. And it was at that moment that she got, it wasn't about a lighter load. It was about a stronger back. And how many times do all of us do that exact same thing? The attention versus the intention. The intention was getting to market, but with all the attention put on that negativity. I want it gone. Well, that's what happened, wasn't it? And totally destroyed her intention. And I know I do that. I don't mean to. I catch myself, pretty often, but I'll find myself just caught up in things that I don't want to be caught up on. Some of you know that I was in New York last week. And when I was on vacation, it was the first time I'd been to New York City. I'd been 30-odd countries, but I'd never gone to New York City. So I'm really excited to be with my friend of 35 years and just do fine dining and theater. My beloved husband doesn't like fine dining and theater. He got to stay home and take care of the animals. It took us about 45 minutes to get to the hotel from the airport on a Saturday. Leaving though on a Friday, I said, okay, this is good. This is Manhattan. I'm going to have to give myself some extra time. So I was thinking, well, it'd be really nice to get my husband a gift at the airport. Let me just go in early, extra 3 or 4 hours, and go shopping and spend some time reading and kind of dwell on this week and what do I want to bring into the service here. And as I'm in the taxi, we had gone in New York City, everything is numbered, so it's very easy to track stuff. So our hotel was at 56th Street. After an hour, I was at 80th Street. Still in Manhattan, still had to go over to New Jersey. So I said, this is going to be a really long ride. And as it turned out, it was 3 hours to get to the airport. Thank goodness I had whatever intuition that says, oh, just go early. There's not much I can do in this city. And of all the people that I could have as a Lyft driver taking me to the airport was a gentleman whose wife had studied at the Deepak Chopra Center in San Diego, did Ayurvedic medicine. We did 3 hours of talking about metaphysics on the way to the airport. Synchronicity, absolutely. Would that conversation have happened if I had been upset and angry about the amount of time it was taking him to get me to the airport? Of course not. Of course not. Would it have happened if I had just been anxious about catching my plane? Of course not. But as I was sitting in the lounge of the hotel, really just watching the clock, and finally this thing, he said, just go to the airport. And it was actually like 2:30 for a 7 o'clock flight. I got to the gate 10 minutes before boarding. But I got to the gate.
Did you get a present?
I didn't. But I told him what I would have got him, and he went out and bought it himself.
His present was you.
Yesterday was our wedding anniversary. So I wanted to get him something special from New York. And there was, there's nothing on all the, because I'm looking all throughout the trip, and nothing jumped out at me. But I figured at the airport, they have such a wide collection. But I wanted to get him, since if you notice, he has a new beard now. So I have a really nice collection of beard trimming things. And he went out and he found one and he bought it. That was a great idea. Here's the bill. But he got what he wanted. It was a surprise to him, and just the way it turned out. Again, it was not my intention. My intention was to make him happy with something that he wouldn't buy for himself. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So it's that intention and the attention. The other thing about intention is to let go of what it's going to look like. Be detached. And that's hard. That's really hard because we want things the way we want them. You know, I wanted to go see Hamilton. They had a lottery, and we went in every single day to the lottery and didn't get it. But I went to see The Bronx Tale, which was Robert De Niro's show. He had actually produced. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And also deep message about being true to yourself. So one more way that the universe just kind of put things together in a way that was exactly perfect for what I needed to hear today. But I also had to be detached from what show I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to a Broadway show. And of course I wanted to go to Hamilton. Everybody wants to go to Hamilton. But couldn't get there, and got one that lent itself perfectly, to at least to my mindset, towards a Sunday service. So detachment is so very critical to the intention, because there's a spirit and there's an energy in this world that is so much stronger, so much powerful than any one of us individually. But we have to be open to letting that energy work its way through. We set the intention. The little old lady wanted to go to the market, and then just start walking. Just start walking. And don't focus your attention on the things that you don't want, because the universe is going to give you what comes into your thought. We do create our own reality. So make sure that when those hiccups in life come up, it's not where the focus is. The focus stays on what the intention is. Deepak Chopra talks about detachment as actually being poverty consciousness. Isn't that interesting? On page 84 of this book. So poverty consciousness, let me read exactly what that quote is, because it really struck me. Attachment comes from poverty consciousness, because attachment is always to symbols. Detachment is synonymous with wealth consciousness, because with detachment there is the freedom of creativity. So when we try to control all of the various things that happen in our lives, we are shutting down the flow of creativity. When we detach from the outcome is when we have the mindfulness going into the universal energy that says, this is what I want, and universe, take care of it. Take care of it. It's actually how John and I got together as a relationship 16 years ago. I had pretty much lived a life of, my life is incomplete because I don't have a significant love relationship. You know, I mean, anyone besides me ever felt that way? Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one. And I went through some major stuff and finally just said, you know, all this energy that I'm putting into this romantic relationships that end each and every time within a year, I said, I'm going to turn it around. Because, you know, when I look at all these failed relationships, what's in common? You know, and they're losers, and they're womanizers, and they have substance issues. But why am I picking them? Why am I with them? So I took all that energy into me and had absolutely no interest in getting involved in a romantic relationship. And about 3 or 4 years of working on myself, I was coming out of it, and that's when I met John. And within a year and a half of meeting, we got married. We were ready. We were ready. But I was detached. I wasn't looking for it. So detachment is the secret of making your intentions real. The other thing that attachment comes up with that is really difficult for some of the people in the Silicon Valley high-tech engineering world is the whole concept of fixing things. Right? They see a problem and they know how to fix it. They see a difficulty and they have a solution. Whereas the detachment way of looking at that is to just open to whatever it is the world is going to do. Recognize it, honor it, set an intention for something different, and be open to whatever the solution is. Because when we're trying to fix something, when we're trying to put our own will into what the problem is, the only thing we can work with is our past. We don't know the future. We have the present and what we've known before. When we open to the universal energy, to the spirit that is the creative forces, that is where things happen in a brand new way. A whole creative energy that is just wide open to new solutions. That is the whole essence of the will. Thy will be done. Not about me. It's about something bigger than me that has that overall essence of life at its command, so that it is my will becomes thy will. And as Deepak Chopra closed this section, he talked about the wisdom of uncertainty that must be cultivated to permit the flow of creativity. So when we blend detachment with intention, it's preparing for an opportunity. And not needing to know what that opportunity is, let the universe fill in the details. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us pray.
I didn't know that story.
Excellent. Yes. But we do have the similar stories, don't we, Vince? Many of them.
Because we have similar interests.
Exactly. Let us pray. The one mind, the one spirit, the one universal creative energy that is right here, right now, in this room, in the hearts of each and every person sitting here today. It is this energy that is the thy will. It is this energy that moves us each forward into being better and more of who we are. Drawing forth that creative energy that exists inside each of us and bringing it manifest into form today in a way that has never been seen before. It's this total detachment to the outcome, knowing God's got it. I don't have to be in control. I don't have to fix things. I don't have to find the solution. God's got it. With this absolute certainty of the divine energy that exists in this world and in my life and in the life of every single person in this room and in this world, whether they know it or not, I say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with my heart filled with the gratitude of life, I let go of these words, knowing they are indeed already manifest in the mind of God. And I invite each and every one of you to help me anchor these words by saying, and so it is.